Hello, welcome to Wrestling Show. I'm going live this morning just because I want this to be a quick one, and I don't want to spend too much time tweaking it in post edits or anything. So today I'm going to be looking at the first episode of MLW Azteca, which streamed last week on January 6th, 2022. This was taped from Tijuana, Mexico, and what was a pretty decent-sized venue. It was a smaller arena, but I would say that there were probably somewhere around 3,000 fans in attendance, just because it looked like they had a mostly full lower bowl, and different camera angles seemed to show that there were fans sitting on the camera side too. So even though I could spot like some areas where, like if it were AEW, you'd say like, oh, the bowl's probably not totally full because I see some empty sections off to the sides. There were definitely fans sitting in spots that would be tarped off on like a typical AEW or WWE TV taping. So the show opened with Cesar Duran welcoming the large crowd and promising them the best Lucha Libre show in the world. And the opening match was a trios match featuring Ares, Dinamico, and Excalibur versus Mystices Jr., Black Destiny, and Aramis. And only Mystices got an entrance, and there was no formal ring introductions, so I kind of had to learn who a lot of these guys were on the fly, which wasn't easy because this match, I would say, would be best compared to when you're playing when you're playing pinball, and you get multi-ball, and there's balls bouncing off every conceivable part of the game board. That was what this match felt like, with bodies just flying everywhere. And to their credit, though, it was just nonstop action and it looked good. And they did cut to a commercial needlessly because the match ended like a minute after they came back. But Aramis and Ares seemed to rekindle the rivalry that they had brewing in MLW. And this time, Aramis finished Ares with an airplane spin slam and got the win at 7 minutes, 35 seconds. So kind of a slight match, but it delivered exactly what was promised. So I gave it 2 stars and 3/4. Then we had a video recap of Alex Kane winning the middleweight championship, then founding the Boomaye Fight Club, and then recap of his feud with Kelvin Tankman. This led to an interview with Alicia Atout, where she asked Kane about the issues of Tankman. Kane called Tankman a crybaby and denied that he's afraid of him. Kane promises to make Tankman submit while the fans chant Boomaye. So I highly doubt he's going to get that sort of fan support right off the bat, obviously being the heel in this situation. But I can see that they are planting the seeds for the eventual babyface turn for Kane. And to be honest, he's such an aggressive, fierce, entertaining personality. He's going to be a babyface sooner than later. So it's good that they kind of have that foresight. Up next, Cesar Duran was chatting it up with Carly Perez, and she offers up a cryptic tale about the Scorpion. They're joined by King Muertes, who brings up the unpleasant topic of sacrifice. Duran has a myth, a creature to fight by his side, and he's talking about Black Taurus. Their enemies are basically toast. So I like these Lucha Underground flavored backstage segments with like the mood lighting and the camera cuts like it's a soap opera. It's very, very campy, but in a good way. So then we got a video recap of the Hammerstone Duran saga. So if you don't know, this basically started with Duran wanting to form an alliance with Hammerstone. Hammerstone spurned him. But then Hammerstone won the War Chamber match for MLW. And then Duran tried to thank Hammerstone by sending him big fancy Rolex watches. And Hammerstone rejected that gift as well. So since then, that's put him on Duran's enemy list. He unleashed Matanzo on him, which brought further fire from Hammerstone. So that's all led to this Apocalypto tag match that's happening in the main event of this broadcast. So then they had Richard Holiday versus Psycho the Clown, or just Psycho Clown. And Richard brought out Alicia Atout with him, who she went straight to commentary, and she said that she justified her accompanying Holiday because she says no to him so often that she figured she should throw him a bone. And the storyline here seems to be that Holiday is really smitten with Alicia, who either has no interest in him or is happy to just kind of dangle him along. So the match itself was pretty boring. There wasn't really much to this one. I think Holiday is a really entertaining character, and his ring work in these singles matches doesn't always hold up, and this was another example of that. The storyline here too was the match itself was really a backdrop for what was going on with Alicia, because she asked some hard questions about Cesar Duran on commentary, which led to one of the Azteca henchmen coming out and abducting her and carrying her away. So that distracted Holiday, who then went down to Psycho Clown's top rope Spanish fly for the pinfall at 10 minutes 45 seconds. So kind of a boring match, but it was just a backdrop for the angle, and this went kind of long for that purpose, so just 1 star. Afterwards, Psycho Clown celebrated with a pair of mini clowns, and I honestly couldn't tell if they were children or if they were little people dressed up, and I guess it doesn't make a difference. Then they had a video promo with the MLW Tag Team Champions 5150. They say the Von Erichs are barking up the wrong tree, especially if they think they're taking their gold. 5150 are the champs for a reason. Good promo here. Then we see video from Hawaii of the Von Erichs training in what looks like a dark studio that could have been taped anywhere, and I highly doubt it was actually in Hawaii. Kevin Von Erich calls the boys over for a pep talk, and he tells them that they can't let up if they intend to end the family's 40-year championship drought. Next, Richard Holiday confronted Cesar Duran about Alicia Atout's whereabouts. Duran says that the abduction was for her own protection, and then introduced him to a local police detective who has some questions for Holiday regarding a recent incident. So Holiday gets dragged away, threatening that Duran will be hearing from his lawyer. And then Duran seems to tell the henchman to let Carly know that the plan is in motion. So they're up to something, and it's probably no secret that it has something to do with removing Hammerstone's allies for some sort of betrayal in the main event. Which brings us to the Apocalypto match of Black Taurus and King Mortes against the MLW World Champion Alexander Hammerstone and Pagano. So Apocalypto match is basically just a standard hardcore match. And this was Texas Tornado with no tags, no rules. So for the most part, this was kind of like a substandard weapons brawl. They brought in things like cookie trays and an umbrella and wooden floorboards, and the crowd was strangely not into this. Like it almost like there were times where it almost seemed like the crowd wasn't synced up to the rest of the broadcast. Like things would happen in the match where you would expect the crowd to like ooh or ah, and the crowd just kind of like the noise just carried on like they were watching something else. Like particularly there were some spots with the floorboards being propped against the turnbuckles or against the barricade, and guys would take bumps through them. And like I thought the bumps were impressive enough that somebody should have reacted, but then nothing. So I don't know. Anyway, I mean the match wasn't bad. It's just something I noticed. So there were some noteworthy high spots, like Taurus took a back body drop through a board from Hammerstone. Pagano then took Taurus out of a dive. Mortes hit a lung blower on Hammerstone. Pagano hit Taurus with a Death Valley driver through another board. And Hammerstone finished Mortez with the Nightmare Pendulum at 15 minutes, 27 seconds. And just kind of a sub. I mean, it wasn't bad, but for this spot and this time, 2.5 stars is not a glowing endorsement. So after the match, Cesar Duran arrived and threatened Hammerstone with the throat slash gesture, and that seemed to flip a switch in Pagano, who turned on Hammerstone and took him down with a lid shot. Pagano, who moments ago was fighting for his life against Taurus and Mortez, then helped them lay waste to Hammerstone. So there seemed to be enough clues here that Duran has some sort of magical mind control element that is at play with Pagano. So I wouldn't just see this as like, you should, if you're buying into the universe and the story that they're telling, like, you shouldn't be sitting there going like, why did Pagano wrestle Hammerstone for 15 minutes and then betray him? That doesn't make any sense. I think that if you're looking at this in as far as the Azteca universe goes, you can play along and accept that there's something more mystical and magical at play. And I'm willing to do that as long as, the rules of the universe are consistent. So final thoughts. This was kind of a quiet show this week, but it was neat to see MLW in a larger building. The Duran-Hammerstone feud feels like it has a lot of legs left to it, though I'm still not totally convinced that Hammerstone is up for the task of being the Stone Cold to Duran's Mr. McMahon, but I'm willing to let it play out and see where it goes. So I'm not really going to recommend this particular episode, but do keep your eyes on MLW going forward. This review is late, so there's going to be a fresh episode tomorrow, and I am interested to see what happens next. So that was Azteca episode 1. So if you haven't yet, please click that subscribe button. I would really love to make it to 100 subscribers so that I can start doing SmackDown reviews and feel like I'm not wasting my time. Otherwise, please go visit thewrestlingsite.com for my written reviews. Visit onestopwrestling.com for a whole host of different podcasts about wrestling, all gathered together in one place. And if you haven't been over to the wrestling site lately, our showcase review is night 2 of Wrestle Kingdom 16, where I take a look at all the happenings from January 5th. This was the show that was headlined by Okada and Will Ospreay. See what I thought about their big 33-minute match. Otherwise, other recent reviews are the first 3 events from AEW. I covered the January 5th Dynamite, the January 7th Rampage, and the January 8th Battle of the Belts. And tonight I'll be covering AEW, and I think they're in Raleigh, North Carolina tonight, so that should be an interesting show. I know that the WrestleTix map of the venue looked light, so hopefully they'll have some good walk-up sales, or if nothing else, they can just paper the heck out of the place. So anyway, thanks for watching. Take care, and don't do anything I wouldn't do.